Hello everybody, about to do part 2 of this gopher. Part 1's on the wall behind me. Part 2, with the back half of him, we're going to make a gopher butt bottle opener. The first thing we got to do is finish skinning this gopher. So we'll skin out this back half here. Use your fingers for a lot of it, but let's use our knife in some parts. Work your fingers around that back leg. Start working it down. Then the other one. Work your finger all the way around. Start working our way back down towards the foot. This one we're going to cut off the leg joint from the body. That, and then we'll work our way down towards the tail. There it is. Get that tailbone out of there. Like that. And then carefully cut through the bottom part, and there's the rest of it done. So for this guy, we're going to do the leg bone left in method. So we're just going to clean these legs up. Take all the meat off of them. That. Next one, same thing. This is a similar idea when you're excuse me, taxidermying a bird and you're leaving the leg bones and all that stuff in, or the wing bones. Same idea. You just got to make sure you get as much meat off it as possible and coat it with as much borax as you can get on there. And you won't have any issues with rotting or anything like that. Just make sure you get it as clean as possible. That's the biggest key to this. And we got to scrape all this fat off of here, which, again, cleaning up everything in my shop because we're getting ready to move. So all my forming boards are in a box somewhere, because of course they are. So we're just using a piece of cardboard to try and help hold everything. It's not quite as good, but it'll work. But this is the biggest key to this, is you got to get all this fat off of here. Gophers are a very, very fatty animal. So want to make sure you get all the fat off of it. You can avoid having any issues during the drying process. You can just see all that grease that's coming out of the leather as I'm doing this. That's all that stuff you want to get rid of so it'll dry properly. That's looking pretty good. So we'll get this guy into borax, and then we'll go on to the next step after that. Alright, put him in the borax. You want to make sure you get lots all over those legs. Make sure every little bit of it's got borax on it. And then right around the butthole of the gopher, you want to make sure you get lots around there too, because it's quite fatty and everything, so just helps make sure that's all dried out, properly preserved. Make sure you go all the way right down to the edges. When it's folded over, you want to make sure you get borax over every little bit of it. There we go. So I'm going to let this guy sit for a minute while I get the rest of the stuff prepared. And then we'll get these legs built back up. And yeah, there's not a whole lot to mounting one of these butts. So I'm going to build up the legs. So for that, I'm just going to use some masking tape. And just kind of twist it around like this as I'm putting it around there. That kind of just builds up that leg like this. I like using the masking tape because it also helps hold a bit of the shape or the position, because you can kind of twist around a little bit. So just do something like that, and then we'll do the same on the other side. And if we need to build it up a little bit more once we turn it right side out again, then we can always add a little bit of more in there. But for a mount like this, where the legs are literally just dangling down, they're not doing anything, you don't have to go crazy. I don't even bother putting a wire into them. That. Turn those legs inside out, or right side out, I mean. You can see they're going to sit just kind of like that. So we're going to need a piece of wire for the tail to help hold that where it needs to be. And then I've got this little block of wood that's going to be kind of the main backing of the form. So I have to drill a hole in that piece of wood too for the wire to go through to lock into. So I'm going to get that drilled. And then we'll get that tail wired and get this filled all in, and then yeah, it'll be ready to dry. Oh, I've got this guy with the wire in it for the tail. So I'm going to make sure these legs are all straight in the way I want them to be. More or less. Like that. And then I'm going to take that wire. I'm going to dip it in a bit of, this is just white crafting glue. That wire covered. And then I'm going to stick that up through the tail. I'm going to go right through the end of the tail. Push that all the way up in there. And then pull this hide around. Build up a little bit more of some of this cotton batting in here. This doesn't need any kind of real structure to it, it's just essentially a ball. Bend that tail up a little bit. It's going to look something like this. You can see it's starting to come together. So I'm going to take a needle and thread and kind of sew around there so I can cinch this all up together. I got everything roughly in position, so I've got my thread here. So I'm just going to loop my way all the way around. These stitches don't have to be super close together, just maybe 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch apart, roughly. Go all the way around. Right up to where we started. And as you can see, I'm just going to pull those. And as I do that, this whole thing's going to come together. So I'm just going to kind of build that up a little bit more with some cotton band. And as I do this, just keep pulling and stuffing. Make sure that's nice and full. And you can see I'm just pulling that. Oop, oh, my stitches popped. That's okay. Another one. As you can see, we pull that together. It'll all cinch up. So the reason I want that piece of wood inside there is because it gives me something to solid to screw into when I want to mount it to the plaque. Knot that a few times. There, now kind of roughly get him into the shape we want him to be, pin it and let it dry, and then he'll be ready to mount to our bottle opener plaque. At this point I'm also going to cut off that excess wire that's out the top. I like putting the wire all the way through if I can, because then it gives wire, I make sure I have wire all the way through the entire tail, and then also when I put glue on there it helps that tail really not break or anything in the future, because it's going to be glued solidly to that wire, so you don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to cut the excess off of that, and we'll kind of get this guy pinned into place, but it doesn't need a whole lot of pins. It sort of just sits as it is like this, and then we'll let him dry, and we'll start working on the plaque. Okay, I got the plaque made now, so I'm gonna put some glue in the little recessed part that I did. And then we're gonna screw that butt onto here. And now we're gonna screw into this guy. Just like that, kind of adjust it to make sure everything's looking like it's supposed to be. Straighten out that tail a little bit. I'm gonna kind of make sure it's even, not lopsided or anything like that. You want the legs to be the same distance and everything. And smooth out that fur around the edge. It's for a nicer transition. Make sure everything's kind of in the middle. Perfect. Okay, I'll get this guy hung up on the wall with a fan so he can dry, and then the last step will be actually putting the bottle opener part on it. Our gopher butt, it's almost done. Last thing we gotta do is just a little bit of touch-up paint on the bottom of the feet where they kind of lightened up as it was drying. For that I'm just using this sort of dark gray not quite black, but a darker gray. We call it shading gray. I'm just going to go over all the leather part of the pad of the foot. It just kind of helps bring a little bit of life back into those feet so they don't look so dull and flat. Here's our completed Gopher butt bottle opener. These guys are definitely some of our more popular mounts, and they're always good for a lot of laughs.